Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com.
And Victoria Tedesco.
Yes, here we are. We have been so excited about this all week. And I don't care what everybody thinks of Raw. It could be boring. It could have been the best show ever. I am stoked for tonight's post-Raw show because it's the 50th episode.
I can't believe it. I really can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. This is unbelievable. I thought, man, oh man, when we did our first episode, I believe it was August 5th, 2018. I was like, oh, this will be fun to do up until WrestleMania, and then it will probably just like drop off a little bit. But we've enjoyed it so much, we just keep coming back, and you've been with us through this whole all these 50 episodes, which is incredible. And we thank everybody who hangs out with us in the chat room. And we have some great fans that have been with us since day one. I'm thinking of Billy Hefner. I'm thinking of Quentin Walters. I'm thinking of Nafis Sadat. There are people that have been following us forever. Daniel Schell in the chat room tonight. So exciting. We're so happy. And thank you to everybody who listens to us. The podcast, version of this that we have on Spotify and iTunes. We get our downloads are really, really good. And we're very, very happy about that. And we're continuing to build this thing. It's very, very exciting. We're just so happy, and we couldn't do it without all of you, and we thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been really, I still can't believe it's 50 because, about a year ago, it was just this idea that popped into our minds, and we were kind of like, let's just go for it, see what happens. And the fact that we're here now, 50 episodes later, and gets more fun each time.
Yeah.
And now, I like it so much better now because now we have built more relationships with people. Like, I talk to more people now, and just getting this whole group of individuals, it's just awesome, so.
I do know. I certainly do know.
It's just funny.
Sorry. While the camera was on Victoria, I actually got up to reposition her camera.
That's why I'm laughing. Sorry.
That was a nice sneaky little job I just did right there. Yeah. So it's just been a total blast. We thank everybody for hanging out with us and watching our show.
I feel like I should have brought balloons or something.
I know, something. But, unfortunately for us tonight, it's kind of like, I like to think of this like we're getting NFL'd or something like that, and Raw against NFL where it doesn't, do that great ratings. Like we're against the VMAs tonight. So it's a little tough on us.
Yeah.
The VMAs, by the way, taking place about 15 minutes from our house in Newark, New Jersey.
And
it's like, that's the best venue you could get.
I was saying to Mike before, what's interesting is I used to look forward to the VMAs every year. It was something that I made it a point, made no plans that night, watched it, and took a lot away from it. First of all, I don't know who half the artists are. And they had it in New York about 3 years ago now, and my brother and I were actually planning on going, but then something happened where we couldn't go. But I was like, oh, this is my one opportunity to go, and I couldn't have had a more perfect opportunity to go tonight, and I didn't want to. So
well, I mean, you're also 7.5 months pregnant.
I know,
too, so it's probably not a good thing to go to the VMAs in Newark. With all the loud music, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, with all the craziness.
But we are dragging Victoria, who will be even more pregnant than she is this week, to Madison Square Garden for Raw and SmackDown. So just a programming note, in 2 weeks, when Raw is at Madison Square Garden, there will not be a post-Raw show because we will be there. In a perfect world, I'd like to do a post-Raw once we get home, which should only take us about an hour. So post-Raw would go on the air around 12:30 in Eastern time. But she's so pregnant, and it's our first week back at school. It's just not gonna work out. It's just not gonna work out.
This is terrible.
I know. The only thing that can make this more perfect is if Victoria, when it eventually comes time, she goes into labor right on the air.
I'm not doing that. I already told you that's not okay.
All right, let's say hi to everybody in the chat room again. Like I said, we have Nafis Sadat in the room. We got Quentin Walters in the room. We got Daniel Schell. We got Billy Hefner. We got Michonne Walls in the chat room. Sweet Louis Veraldi in the chat room, and Daniel Schell, of course, is rooting for you to go into labor on the show.
Daniel, no.
He's a very, very evil man. Okay. Well, We talked about it. We again, thank you everybody for sticking with us for 50 episodes. And now it's time for us to get into the reason most people tune into this show. It's to hear our Raw review. And yeah, there's stuff to talk about on Raw tonight. First of all, not a bad Raw.
No,
not a bad Raw at all.
I don't think so. I
mean, gives the ending that people hate. A DQ ending after 3 hours, but that's. I don't know. I don't think that's enough.
I think well, for some people it might be, and I think for anybody who, I think if somebody is not watching every week or is watching every week, it really could depend. I can see this. I could see this show going either way for some people.
I guess I can agree with that. I guess like if someone hasn't watched in a while and they decided to tune into tonight's show and they see the DQ end at the end of the show and they're just like, God damn it, this show is the same crap all the time. I don't know why I keep giving it a chance.
But if you're comparing it to other shows, it's better than other shows. So you could go that route. But then there's some people who may have just not liked the flow of the show. I think it flowed rather nicely in the sense of where I didn't feel like I was watching a 3-hour show, but there were some people, like even in the Wrestleview comments, that were like, thank God for the fast forward button. Thank God. You know what I mean? And again, I think it's just one of those Raws that's like, you either loved it or you didn't, or
if you hate WWE and everything that they do, then yeah, you'll continue to hate this show. But I watch it. Everybody knows we watch it every single week. I recap the show every single week. I have since 2014, I think it is. Yeah, so it's been
a long time now.
Man, it's been what, 6 years of or 5
5 years or so.
5 years, moving on 6 of recapping Raw. So I've recapped some very lean times on this show. You have to find reasons to like it and things about it that aren't bad. For the next few weeks, WWE is still the only show in town, even though we got a big pay-per-view coming up on Saturday for AEW All Out, as well as NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. I will be recapping both shows, and we will be on the air. Me and Victoria will be on the air for AEW All Out, the Wrestleview live review of AEW All Out. So please, programming note, please make sure you're here. Tune in with us. And check out All Out. It's gonna be a good show. I just have a feeling, even though it felt kind of cursed this weekend when John Moxley. That was the one match I was really looking forward to, Moxley versus Omega, and then Moxley unfortunately gets the MRSA in his elbow, which he had a bad infection in that elbow anyway. That almost took his life, he says.
Hey.
So it's a scary situation, but he'll be ready to go for the AEW TV debut. But Kenny Omega versus Pac, formerly Neville of WWE, should be a phenomenal match. The ladder match, this looked like it was over during the weekend when everybody said that Phoenix broke his leg, but he's good to go. Ladder match with the Young Bucks on Saturday is going to be something to watch.
I encourage anybody just to watch this in general, only because this is going to be like the whole competitive nature of wrestling now.
Yeah.
So even if you are strongly against AEW, which I know a lot of people are, just take a look at it.
But a lot of people aren't either.
Right. But just take a look at it and just see what we're kind of up against.
Right.
What WWE's up against. I don't mean us. I don't know why we're talking as if Now
there's going to be God damn it.
I knew it. I knew that Wrestleview was in WWE's back pocket.
We are not.
We know a bunch of losers like that.
No, we are not. We actually are very friendly with both companies.
Yes,
so
we are.
But I just, just take a look. It wouldn't hurt for you to try to get to know the company a little bit more.
At the very least, you know what, and we'll talk more about AEW. This is a WWE Raw show tonight. But I will say this about AEW All Out. I know a lot of people thought the signing of Tony Schiavone today is like, oh my God, AEW is doing nostalgia to the max. It's like it's just enough nostalgia. But I don't know. There's gonna be something about tuning in on Saturday and hearing the voices of Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone calling wrestling. I don't know. To me, that kind of excites me. Just on the auditory portion of it, I'm very excited. So that should be pretty sweet. Okay. Let's talk about Raw. What do you say?
Yes.
All right. Let's kick off the show with Sasha Banks.
Sasha
Banks
Banks
coming to the ring. Okay. So we get the boss coming to the ring. They show a video package of her attacking Natalya 2 weeks ago and Becky Lynch. The newly engaged Becky Lynch to Seth Rollins, by the way.
So cute.
Very cute. Although, I gotta say, I mean, you know, I don't want to be one of those dicks that does this, but, I mean, she showed the picture of her engagement ring, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Seth Rollins is the Universal Champion, right? Like, in theory, he makes a lot of money.
Please don't even go there.
That's the best ring he could get her?
Don't even go there.
Come on.
And I'll tell you why.
He could get her a bigger rock than that.
Okay, but
Come on.
but Becky Lynch is a very humble individual.
So what?
I'm just saying she may not. Maybe she might have specified to him like, I don't want the huge ring. I just want like something simple, something, whatever. So we really don't know their situation. Maybe it was like passed down from him. So that's why I'm not saying anything about it.
I don't know.
Maybe like his mother gave it to her, or maybe it's like in the family. So who knows?
Should have stayed in the family.
Stop it! No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. There was a lot of people who agreed with you. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. I like that.
Oh yeah. Oh,
honey. I love when people agree with me.
Believe me, I've been looking on social media about this.
That's my favorite thing.
There are a lot of people and a lot of females who agree with you. I'm just the type of person who like there might be some sentimental value. So I don't really like to judge people's rings and stuff like that.
Oh, my God.
So,
you sentimental nerd.
Will you stop?
You're a nerd.
Oh, my God.
Okay, anyway. Sasha Banks in the ring. And simple promo. She starts off with, everybody wants to know why. Everybody wants to know why and where Sasha Banks has been. I'm like, grammatically, that just doesn't really, like, make sense to me. I immediately, I was like, she slipped up. She says, I've been gone for 4 months, minding my own business, and yet all I heard was my name, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks. And she did that thing that I hate. She does it all the time, and I can't believe she hasn't learned anything in 4 months. A very light Becky chant starts, and she's getting ready to speak, and then she kind of stops and thinks it's going to build. It never does. That happens to Sasha Banks all the time. Remember when they were celebrating winning the women's tag team championships?
Of course I remember.
And they were sitting in the ring just waiting for people to cheer and chant, and it just wasn't happening. Like, I got flashbacks to this.
Exactly.
Now, there were some good moments to this. I'm starting off with a couple of just brief negatives here.
Oh, okay.
I did like admitting, pulling the curtain back a little bit and admitting, she goes, I read about how I threw a fit. Yeah, I did. And probably true. It sounds true. I read about how I was seen crying on the locker room floor at WrestleMania. And yeah, I admit that as well. And she also admits to taking her ball and going home. But the reason why she did that was she was angry about being relegated to a WrestleMania tag team match that she cared nothing about, defending tag titles that meant less, while Becky Lynch main evented against Ronda Rousey. I think she forgot Charlotte Flair was also in that match because it was the history right now is showing that it was solely Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, but no big deal. And then so she took her ball and went home and went on a few amazing vacations with her WrestleMania paycheck, a paycheck which was richer for for Becky Lynch. And I kind of like that, pulling the curtain back a little bit
with the monetary value too.
Yeah, with the monetary value and this stuff. I'll finish up her promo. She just said that I deserve all the glory. I've been the boss of this division since day one, leading the revolution or the evolution or whatever the hell they're calling it. And I deserve all the glory. I liked the basis and the meat of this promo. I didn't like the delivery at all.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, honestly, because...
Oh, it's a good Meatloaf song.
Oh, stop it with the Meatloaf songs. No, because that's exactly how I feel about this. Everything that was mentioned in that promo had validity. It was solid. And it was all very good stuff. Very well written. But the only thing is... the dullness and the how flat it sounded coming out of her is what I did not enjoy. If she's going to say these things, because clearly she's admitting to like I said, again, what she said tonight, I did have a fit. I did cry at WrestleMania. I did this, I did that. all of these things that she did, that's great. They admitted to that, what have you. Where's the Viction in your voice? Like, where is that pain that you felt in that moment? And again, you're not going to go hysterically crying in the middle of the ring and being whatever, but where is that passion and you channeling that anger in this promo?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's where
Yep.
that is where the faults lie within this. This is exactly where the criticism is.
Right.
Like, again, very well, and her personality should be like, if it flowed, but she was pausing, waiting for reactions, and that's what made it fall flat overall. She needs to work on that aspect of it, and she needs to channel that energy and that anger from that moment, because she really did feel slighted,
I don't doubt that at all.
Unappreciated, and all these different things. Again, smart woman not expressing anything on any WWE social media. Kudos to her for that. But if this is going to work, and it has the makings to work really well, if she delivered this with like strong passion tonight, this would have been a home run. It really would have. Good, because it would have been a solid way to open the show and a solid way to like get that heat, get that anger, get that fight in her.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to mention about this? Because I have something to also talk about.
No, please go on. Keep talking.
No,
I mean, you're taking the words out of my mouth. Must have been while you were smashing on Sasha Banks here. But
on the other, so again, not to be too negative, going forward in tonight to Sasha Banks' Natalyas match, I cannot believe I'm going to say this. It was a great match. This was a really good match. And here's why. Both women in the ring did exactly what they needed to. Natalya didn't come out all smiley and dramatic. She came out angry, selling her arm injury, attacking Sasha Banks, going full force into their mat. You know what I mean? Like, she attacked Sasha Banks after her promo, right?
Right. Oh yeah. That. By the way, that was a good brawl.
That was a good brawl.
The show.
She comes in strong, heavy, doing that. You know what I mean? Then you have this match, right? That it really showed. They had a brawl tonight. They just fought. They both looked passionate. They both looked just had so much energy, so much flow into the match.
Yeah.
That's what needs to be done. You need to hone on those skills, because right now, first of all, you had somebody like Natalya who normally comes into matches like,
yeah.
But she didn't do that. She was her face was very straight, like very like focused, and she had a purpose in mind, and Sasha Banks had a purpose in mind. So for those two things to align, that was gold. They need to work on promos and segments with Sasha Banks, as this is going to work to keep that momentum, because it's like inconsistent. It's like, wow, she's putting on pretty good matches and she's showing
it's been one match.
Yeah, that heat. Now get that portion out of it. And so when I was talking to Billy Hefner tonight, I'm sorry. When I was talking to Billy Hefner tonight, I was like, she needs to not speak. And Billy made a very good point of that's really not going to happen, only because Brock Lesnar's really the only one who's allowed to just not talk. Everybody now has to like, for the most part, talk in their promos.
At least Andrade doesn't have to either.
Right.
Like that's kind of like what the chat room here is saying too. Daniel Shell says limit Sasha to one paragraph, which I can agree with. The scripting, this wasn't a poorly scripted.
It was not.
This was not a poorly scripted promo. It just wasn't delivered well. And this was the problem that they had last week with Sasha too, where she did that sit-down interview, and number one, it wasn't well scripted. That was not well scripted at all. But she also, there are people that can take some poorly scripted stuff and kind of do something with it. And in this case, she didn't really save her promo at all, sitting down. But when she came back later in the night and attacked Natalya, who was kind of complaining, she used to be my best friend, then she attacked her from behind, kicked the arm into the box, and then said, see you in hell, Natty, and tell your father I said hi, or whatever. Like, that was effective. I'm not a big fan of the using Jim Neidhart thing, but that was an effective use of Sasha Banks because she didn't have to cut the promo, and it was just physical action.
Right.
Some people just aren't going to be good at cutting promos, and she's there. That's just how it is with her. You know, she's the boss and all this stuff. I still don't know what she's the boss of and this and that. But if you're going to be a boss and you're going to get this big push where you're supposed to be this dangerous, you know, women's wrestler, you gotta like sound like it too when you cut that promo. Yeah. You know, like the boss. When I hear like, oh, she's the boss, like to me that's like, oh, you know, she's tough and she's, you know, egotistical and she comes off like a badass. You need to project that in your character when you cut the promo. And I didn't, the only thing that I caught was during her promo, at least, was trying to sound tough. You know, it looked like somebody trying to sound tough and remember her lines.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Which made it totally ineffective, even though the meat of it was actually good.
Absolutely.
So when she came back and had the match later on, to me, that was redeeming because Natalya sold a lot for her.
Yes.
They were very, very physical in the match. I absolutely loved when Banks sent her into when Natalya sent her into the barricade.
Oh my gosh.
Banks went in really, really hard. And then Banks came back by sending her into the timekeeper's area, and Natalya did the big flip into the chair, which looked visually great. The shots in the ring post, the release German suplex, and then finally the submission finish was freaking phenomenal. That was totally awesome.
Phenomenal.
I absolutely love that.
Natalya didn't submit right away, and then
she screamed in pain, and then she used the injured arm.
Exactly. That's what worked for that. She was an immediate, and the fact that she was trying.
Ooh, sorry. How about that? Keep going.
Okay. The fact that she was trying to, you know, get to the rope. She's like this close, but at the end still can't do it because Sasha Banks gets that arm and her, you know, it gets her right back where she is, you know, in submission.
Right.
That was great. That was really, really good. And what I would have done differently tonight is when Sasha was opening up the show, maybe have her talk for like literally 10 seconds and then Natalya just comes out and attacks her. Then they just go into that brawl immediately.
Right.
And then we still don't get why, she left or why she whatever. Because if she, you know, is able to work on promos and work on segments a little bit more, then she could kind of build up to that whole like,
right, I
left for this reason, this, blah, 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 blah. And because she's not there yet. You know, she's just not, Mike-wise, she's not there. But
yeah,
it seems that like whatever's going on in the ring and physically so far, she's able to do, which I'm happy to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
overall, like, you know, I thought, you know, the promo was kind of disastrous, but I thought she really did redeem herself with the match itself. And Natalya did a great job for her. I was really surprised not to see Becky Lynch come out at the end, at least, just to kind of like even just to come out on the stage, or when she went back to apply the bank statement to Natalya the second time. I'm surprised they didn't have Becky Lynch come out to kind of like, you know, push that they're that they're definitely gonna be having a match at Clash of Champions. It hasn't been made. I don't think it's been made official yet. I can't remember though, because I'm consumed by wrestling. Sometimes things just, you know, I can see where they're going. I don't know if it's official yet, but
right.
You know, I don't know why they kept her and Rollins off the show tonight, unless it's just that they're continuing their vacation and celebration of getting engaged.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know, because they showed that promo with Braun and Seth, and I think that was probably taped earlier.
I do too. I think that's probably.
But they tried to make it sound like it was live, and then they said it was last week. And then then they said, "Oh yeah, we won the titles last week on Raw." I'm like, "Wait a minute, was I in a coma for 2 weeks for a full week? Because that was only last week, and they're making it sound like it's 2 weeks ago now." I don't know, kind of one of those like weird, you know, left hand, right hand things. But you know, anyway, overall, I'm gonna say it was a successful night for Sasha Banks.
Okay.
Even though it started rough, ended strong, and a lot of times on Raw, especially on Raw, it's not really how you start, it's how you finish. I've seen Raws that weren't very good, but the main event was something that people liked, and
Right.
that's the thing. When I put up a poll, that's the thing that they vote on first. It's like, what'd you think of Raw? Well, I just saw something that sucked, so thumbs down. But if they like something, like last week, the tag team titles change hands. They love that, so that gets a thumbs up. You know, my last impression of Sasha Banks tonight was the badass egotist, acting like what I envision a boss to be. So that's a successful successful night for me.
So you're taking the role of you're only as good as your last match. You're only as good as your last performance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's exactly what I'm doing. And damn it, I think that's a pretty good way to go. Okay. Let's skip back to the 9 o'clock hour. And what the heck happened at the 9 o'clock hour? You know what? It's a whole bunch of King of the Ring stuff, so let's just go to the main event, and then we'll talk about the King of the Ring stuff.
Okay.
All right. The King of the main event was the United States Championship being defended once again with AJ Styles taking on Braun Strowman. Now, earlier in the night, they did the little backstage promo. Seth Rollins was banned. You know, Seth Rollins and the OC are banned from ringside, so Rollins did not appear live before the crowd tonight, which makes me think that this whole thing was just on video. So that gives an excuse also to not have Rollins come out. Of course, when the OC eventually interfered in this match, it would have been nice for Seth Rollins to come out and help his partner.
tag team partner,
but
yeah.
Whatever. They did announce also, which I think is a great move, and one that I mentioned last week on the post Raw. I predicted this to happen, that, you know, everybody's like, oh, they're going to defend him next week, and, you know, Braun will turn on Seth and they'll lose the titles. Well, and I said, well, wouldn't it be cool if they made them defend it at Clash of Champions, and that's where Braun does the turn? So Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman will defend the Raw Tag Team titles at Clash of Champions and then face each other later in the night for the WWE Universal Championship. Great idea.
The reason why I like this is because people do give you a lot of heat sometimes on social media, and they say to you, like, you don't know what you're talking about, Mike.
Oh,
you have no idea. You don't know wrestling. Like, you talk about wrestling as if you know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And I always just laugh because when something happens that you predict, like, I'm like...
Every now and then I gotta be a dick and say
Hey.
it. Yeah, every now and then I gotta be a jerk and just say
Told
it.
you so.
Yeah. So joke's on you.
Win.
You know, honestly, like, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but you know what? In this case, toot. Toot. Go back and actually read some of my, if you can find them on Wrestleview, because it's been a long time since I've written a post Raw review. I think the last time was like 2015, 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I went back and like looked at some of my post Raw reviews, you know, just to see like how many of my predictions came true, and like I'm like at 98% on everything. I can see. I see where it's going.
I'm not
so
surprised.
you know, maybe pay attention a little bit every now and then. I kind of do know what I'm talking about. Anyway, now I'm off my tooting my own horn on the 50th episode of our post Raw show.
I think we should pat on the back.
Why not?
Goes.
Yeah, you know how it is. AJ Styles, Braun Strowman. I gotta tell you, because Braun even said, he's like, you know, I think he had his timeline like way out of order, because he was interviewed by, I think, Sarah Schreiber, and she's like, Braun, you have a United States title match tonight, and you also have 2 matches at Clash of Champions. He goes, yeah, Clash of Champions could be a busy night for Big Braun. First we're going to defend our Raw Tag Team titles, then I'm going to defeat Seth Rollins for the Universal title, and then I'll defend my United States Championship. I'm like, so the United States Championship is going to be the main event of Clash of Champions over? It's like, are you kidding me? Well, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Anyway, but honestly, the way AJ Styles was bumping around this match for Braun tonight was incredible. I have to say, last week they did something awesome on the show, where the first King of the Ring match with Samoa Joe and Cesaro, they started it off with Cesaro hitting an immediate uppercut. That's how the match started, into a pin. And then they did that with Cedric Alexander and what's his name? And
Drew McIntyre?
No. Cedric Alexander. Who did he face last week? God damn it. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. You're asking the wrong person.
Sami Zayn.
Okay. Right.
Forgot about Sami Zayn.
Sorry.
Because his character's been quite forgettable. And then they kind of did the same thing. And then I noticed on SmackDown they did a couple where they ambushed them at the start. I'm like, okay, it was a cool spot once. It's like, now you don't have to do it in every single match. So I was pretty happy when the 2 King of the Ring matches tonight started off with no immediate hitting of moves and stuff like that. It's like, everything like it's repetitive. But this match was totally awesome because they did do that. The bell rings and Strowman grabs him and just throws him over the top rope. It was hilarious.
It is.
And AJ Styles, I love when he takes bumps over the top rope sometimes because only he can take a bump like that. That's like
absolutely.
so AJ Styles.
It's so AJ Styles for sure.
Strowman immediately runs him over 2 running shoulder blocks, gets him in the ring, but Styles gets his boots up, on a charge, and he's still he's bumping around. A vicious choke slam from Strowman, just nasty stuff. Finally, first of all, Braun Strowman has this one spot that he has in every single match, and I know I've probably mentioned it in the past, but I never knew that someone's signature move could be a move done against them. But Strowman absolutely loves doing the shoulder into the post thing. He does it in every single match without fail. Without fail. He never, ever has a match where he doesn't hit the shoulder into the ring post. I haven't seen it. I can't think of one match. But he did that. But this one was a really special one. And I really kind of like this. The referee was directly in the way, so he jumps out of the way and gets on the apron. And I'm like, oh, the referee's out of position. That was funny. And then AJ Styles sends Strowman into the referee on the apron, who takes a great bump into the barricade. So that was a planned move. And I was like, that was so great. That was so creative. Of course, the OC runs down, but Strowman fights them off, hits them with a chair. And the referee comes to right at that moment. Styles collapses like Eddie Guerrero. The referee thinks that Strowman hit him with the chair and disqualifies him. That's not going to be a finish that everybody likes. Guaranteed. Everybody probably hates it. But, and to me, it is kind of blah to do a DQ finish in a match like this. But anytime there's a reference or a throwback to anything Eddie Guerrero, to me, that's not a bad thing.
So that's a win for you, yeah. No, I liked everything about this match up until that point. That's just me personally. Just because, we've seen so many times the DQ, end of the night, main event, and everything else. But the match itself was great, and Styles really, to me, was like the star of the match. He really took his whole selling bumps and doing what he needed to do and made it very well. In terms of like this whole idea of Strowman, going a Night of Champions, like having a lot to do, I'm into that. I think this is kind of a good way to kind of intertwine everybody's storylines together. So I think this is like a good setup for him to kind of keep those feuds open a little bit, and having that, like I said, if I would just have changed the ending solely for the purpose of, because it's like typical main event DQ,
right,
this type of situation. But everything else in the match was really entertaining.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it had physicality to it.
And if you're going to do a DQ in the Raw main event, which we've seen a million times, at least this one was a little more creative than the average DQ that they normally do. So I can't argue against that. But you're kind of right. It's like Braun Strowman is the number 1 contender for the Universal title. AJ Styles is the United States champion. He's not going to lose his title. Strowman shouldn't lose either. So it's like, you booked yourself in a corner. Why book the match at all? That's always my question. I always
listen,
wonder these things.
It's
And now the question is, where does AJ Styles go from here? What's now? Who is he going to face for the United States title at Clash of Champions? And you don't know how badly I want to say Night of Champions. It's not. But every time I write about Clash of Champions too, I want to type Night of Champions. But whatever.
Just do it.
I know I should. And somebody's like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, and again, I think every aspect
I bet you for the United States title, he'll probably face one of the losers of King of the Ring. That's who I'd guess he would go against. Okay, so let's talk about King of the Ring tonight. We had one good match, one mediocre match, but a lot of possibilities for this tournament To me, it seems like with this tournament, they're kind of setting it up to be a tournament of upsets and great matches.
Yeah, I know, and I'll obviously let you elaborate on that, but I agree with you. This was carefully planned out and calculated, for sure.
Right.
To set up for those matches that you have in mind.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a little bit of a fancy booking excursion here, but first let's talk about the 2 first-round matches that happened tonight. I'm sure a lot of people picked Drew McIntyre to win the King of the Ring tonight. Because it's like King of the Ring, normally...
I did.
For me, King of the Ring is like a classic, like, heels should be winning King of the Ring. And, and strong heels, too, for that matter. When Steve Austin won, he was technically a heel, even though that's the night that Austin 316 was created. Owen Hart, the King of Hearts, when he won his King of the Ring, that was such a great run for him. That was a great gimmick, and that led him to having title matches and whatever, good stuff. Triple H was a heel. Kurt Angle was a great heel. Brock Lesnar was a heel. It's a heel thing. So, and Drew McIntyre, who it's like by this point last year with Drew McIntyre, I think we said almost on one of our first episodes that Drew McIntyre would be in the main event of SummerSlam for the title. And for whatever reason, that just hasn't happened. McIntyre's been a great character. He's a good, a very, very good wrestler. His in-ring work is great. But for whatever reason, it just he hasn't gotten those opportunities and those breaks yet. and then he went from being really strong to being Shane McMahon's lackey. It's kind of like he's sidelined. So a lot of people thought that Drew McIntyre should be winning tonight. And in a great upset, in what was a phenomenal match, really just a great match, Ricochet beats Drew McIntyre tonight. And it was a great first-round match. Really, really good match. Back and forth. Ricochet was selling like crazy for McIntyre. McIntyre was throwing him all around, making him look good. But Ricochet, they did a great job of building him up as like this underdog wrestler. And he winds up hitting a recoil and catching him at the 630 to advance to the quarterfinals against Samoa Joe, which should be another great match for Ricochet next week on Raw.
What I kind of liked about, believe it or not, in this match was Corey Graves had mentioned something very interesting. This stuck out to me, though.
Okay.
So during the match, I don't know if you happened to catch it, but he said something along the lines of when Drew McIntyre had when he had his match with Cedric Alexander and Cedric Alexander wound up beating him, he said something about Ricochet and Drew McIntyre with their match tonight. He's like, what's kind of interesting is that maybe these like smaller, like fast-paced guys are not his strength.
Yes, yeah, that actually
I thought was an interesting point to make.
That's a great way to kind of paint the picture of the story.
Exactly.
Yeah. He said that McIntyre does have trouble with smaller guys.
Yeah, and I thought that was quite indicative of like going along with what you said, as far as like they're calculating these matches very carefully.
Yes.
So for Ricochet winning, I thought Drew was going to win, but then after hearing that and his match, obviously in the previous weeks with Cedric Alexander, I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, that was a really, really strong tease, for painting the story that will happen later on in the match. I thought that was a really good idea. Corey Graves in general tonight was a little obnoxious. This is his return to Raw after his vacation with Carmella last week. And damn, it was like Corey Graves overloads. Like he's been waiting 2 weeks to get all of his one-liners off. It's like, God, just enough.
There were some things that were funny, though.
It's tonight. Like I totally regret saying anything bad about Vic Grimes last week on Raw, because that was an improvement over what we had tonight. The commentary is still extremely rough on this show. Hey, it really, really is. It sucks, to be honest with you.
I thought he had good one-liners tonight, but I know what you mean. But
he had some good one-liners, but it's like for 3 hours of just like da-da-da-da, Renee, da-da-da-da-da, Renee, da-da-da-da. It's like, shut up, guy. Like, seriously, shut up. He never stops.
One thing though that was awesome during the match when he mentioned about Drew McIntyre not being able to go.
No. He's serviceable in some areas, but it's like he doesn't know like when to rein it in.
The balance.
Like, when's enough?
The balance.
It's like,
yeah.
God, just
the
like
balance.
Yeah, geez, like shut up. It's okay to have some dead air with you. All right, the second King of the Ring first round match with The Miz and Baron Corbin. Not much of a match for me. Went through a commercial break. I don't know, just too like they spent a good portion of the match kind of like saying that Miz is just like he's totally cold right now. There's nothing going on with his character. He's a perennial loser right now, which isn't far off from the truth. And Baron Corbin is Baron Corbin, I guess. Baron Corbin picked up the win after kicking out of a skull-crushing finale. They did that to The Miz as well. It's like, who did Miz piss off or something? It's like he's just, I get it. Not everybody can be built up, all the time, but like, I say it over and over again. Miz went from being the guy that like carried Raw before he got sent over to SmackDown, and then he kind of carried SmackDown too. Became a pretty good face, even though I like that character just doesn't work as a face. He was good against Shane McMahon, but then when Shane beat him and never let him pin him, that kind of killed him dead. And now he's just this face that exists. It's just like it's kind of like a shame what they the evolution of the Miz character over the past 9 months.
Well, what was sad for me is going into this match tonight, I knew I'm like, Baron Corbin's winning the match. Like that wasn't exactly. That
wasn't rocket science.
I wasn't
here.
Exactly like surprised, and I don't think other people were surprised either, obviously. No. But that in itself, when you said it was an okay match and everything else, because of the matchup itself, and the position where the Miz is and Baron Corbin is just hated so much,
Right.
And the predictability behind it too. Baron's winning because WWE loves him, like the actual.
Well.
No, the company likes him. I'm not saying the fans like him. I'm saying, but there's some. Baron Corbin did something where he is just.
He's the right size. He's the right size. And that's what it is.
But there are other people who are the right size too.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, Baron Corbin is obviously a serviceable guy. I'm not a big fan of the character. I'm not a big fan of the in-ring work, but there's something there. And especially, like, as they've laid off on him now, like, he hasn't been a main focus of the show, it's kind of been good. So, like almost like he's being used in the right area right now. He's not a main event guy.
But people have a bad taste, though. That's the
people
problem.
have a bad taste, because of that really, really awful run, towards the end of last year. And it got so bad. Last year with those ratings, I mean, people say that ratings don't matter, but they completely turned around the company because of those ratings. People, it was so bad that people were coming up with conspiracy theories that WWE was purposely doing this, so they could do the McMahon story. It's like, no. This is just, he was just turning people off from the product, and not in a good way. Not like you change channel. You don't want to, So they're using him in the right way now, where he's not a main focus of the show. He's kind of in this, super mid-card King of the Ring tournament. I can get behind this. I can totally get behind this.
Do you think, I don't know, it's just could be like overall, I've been mentioning this for the couple of weeks because everyone's like, oh, I'm sorry, Victoria, the Miz hasn't been like as hot as he's been, obviously in the past few weeks. And I honestly can say that I can't disagree with all argument, all
right.
arguments against that. Do you think it's because right now, I mean, I know when Monroe, when Maurice was pregnant with Monroe.
Nope. Whatever it is, no.
So you don't need anything to do with their second child coming?
Absolutely not.
In the next month?
Nope. Not at all.
I don't know. There's a
Absolutely
part of me. There's a part of me that feels like he wanted to take a step back. Like
nope. If you want to take a step back, take a step back. Why would he be on Raw every week?
Maybe for this, like, just because he want the money and everything. I don't know. Like,
but you don't
he's a hardworking guy.
You don't take a step back from your character. He's still performing just as much as he did when he was hot.
True.
But he's just extremely cold right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's nothing to the baby thing.
No, I don't know. I just feel bad only because he is such a yes man in the company as far as like he does everything.
Well, I
for
mean,
them.
he was dead for like 3 years. Following main eventing WrestleMania, he went from that to like, I thought he was going to get cut for a while. He was like so dead in the water. And then he finally like made a big comeback. I think like, what was it, like 2014, 2015? He started like getting hot again.
Well, another problem was too at the time when he was tagging with Truth that he injured him. Remember that major like.
Oh yeah.
That was a pretty bad one, you know.
They deemed that the Miz was dangerous or something like that.
Yeah, like he had like that reputation for a little bit, which I don't think he is. I think that was just a really off night.
Well, let's talk about the King of the Ring brackets here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a big upset with Ricochet going over Drew McIntyre. I believe Elias over Kevin Owens was an upset as well. We got 2 matches on SmackDown tomorrow night, Ali and Buddy Murphy, which that's a total toss-up because either guy could win that. It wouldn't be much of an upset, but it's going to be a great match. Chad Gable, Shelton Benjamin is going to be a great match. I think Chad Gable's winning that. But we're kind of setting up for some really, really great matches here. Samoa Joe, Ricochet in the quarterfinals. That's sure to be a great match. They fought each other at Stomping Grounds in what was a decent match. Cedric Alexander, Baron Corbin, that's set up for an upset. So you got like two more upsets here with Ricochet, I believe, going to go over Samoa Joe. Cedric Alexander going to go over Baron Corbin in another upset, especially because we'll talk about Cedric Alexander in a little bit. They kind of booked him to like say like, oh, he's got an injury coming into next week's show because of his match with Cesaro tonight, where Cesaro worked on the leg the entire time. I believe that they're just trying to get these guys over. Like they've been trying to get Cedric Alexander over for a little bit now. Ricochet, obviously, they have big plans for him. It's like I think like especially because the semifinals are going to happen at Madison Square Garden for both shows, Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Like I'm looking at the SmackDown side. It doesn't matter. Elias, Buddy Murphy, Elias, Ali. It doesn't matter. I think that could be an upset match. Andrade definitely going. There's no way Andrade's losing his quarterfinal match to either Shelton Benjamin or Chad Gable. I think a great match would be Andrade and Buddy Murphy or Andrade Ali. You can't go wrong either way at Madison Square Garden. It's like they're trying to throw everything they possibly can in the basket for the Madison Square Garden shows. They announced The Undertaker's going to be on SmackDown Live. They announced Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be live in the arena at Madison Square Garden for the Raw show. And it's like, now we're going to give you 2 awesome semifinal matches with, potentially, and I'm fantasy booking here a little bit here, but Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and Andrade versus either Ali or Buddy Murphy. You can't go wrong with either of them. I would love to see the finals be Andrade versus Ricochet. I think that would be awesome. Or it could be Andrade versus Cedric Alexander. I think Andrade's winning the whole thing, by the way, but... they are setting this thing up. It is well planned.
They're jam-packing it, too, with a lot of
totally packing it in with just great talent and potentially some really, really good matches
But not
here.
overwhelming jam-packed, though. It's not like... it's not just like a free-for-all. Like, oh, this could work, whatever. But, like, this was really organized very nicely where it's jam-packed, but it's not, like... overwhelmingly jam-packed. Like it's something that it's just gonna like
it's like something like like that's why I like this tournament. Like I get it. It's like, oh, a bunch of guys doing nothing, let's just make a tournament. Yeah, but at this point in the year you kind of need something to tune into that's going to be like guaranteed, like this is going to be something good to watch tonight. And for those that are wrestling purists that think that Raw doesn't have enough wrestling, well, this is your answer, this King of the Ring tournament, because it has been so far for just 2 weeks, but it's been, in 3 episodes, it's been for the most part very, very good wrestling.
And I think it's
some intriguing stuff.
Yeah,
too.
And I think that's the secret sauce of it, because it's like, I have to disagree with individuals who say they don't have enough people. No, they have enough people. It's like, but how do you utilize these people,
right?
And how do you showcase these people without, having a legit storyline or whatever? So. This is almost like a good talent show. Like King of Ring to me is almost like a good talent show. As far as like you have your auditions, you have this, you have that, and then like the lead up is to that moment, that one match where you finally get your King of the Ring,
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just this is like, I don't know. This is just like all performance to me and all entertaining stuff. So I can't hate, and Only because, too, again, you have all these individuals who should be showcased.
Yeah,
Get a little feel for who they are,
Right.
you know, and as in-ring competitors. It's a good way to get that physicality back into these shows.
Yeah, absolutely, and just showcase some good wrestling. You know, that this is a great opportunity right now to showcase some really good wrestling. Now, before we go on to another segment here, I just have to point out that TDE Wrestling by far had the best caption I've seen them have on anything in quite some time tonight for the King of the Ring. When Baron Corbin won his match, he went up and sat on the throne, put the crown on, and held the scepter, and he cut a promo saying, "I don't care what anybody thinks, you know, everybody wants anybody but me to win King of the Ring, but I'm going to win King of the Ring, whatever." TDE had the absolute best caption for that. It says, Bennigan's 316 says, "All together or separate checks?" It's just like, that's just such a, oh my God, they absolutely killed it on that.
Man.
Absolutely killed it. That was such I feel like that should have gotten way more love than just the 418 likes that got. That's a work of art.
That's quality right there.
Total quality. All right, let me scroll back up. Did I skip anything heading in the King of the Ring? No, I did not. Yeah, so King of the Ring looking like a great tournament. All right, let's talk about Bayley versus Nikki Cross here.
Oh, do we have
let's
to?
not talk about Bayley and Nikki Cross. This match sucked
No,
big time.
and again, like, I'm a female. I should be like, yay, women, blah, blah, blah.
No, you don't have to. If it's not good, you don't have to do
no,
anything.
and I'm just not going to be fake and phony and say, like, oh, yeah, no, you got to give it a chance or whatever. The high-quality women performance was Sasha Banks and Natalia tonight. Bayley and Nikki Cross was not it. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's just stupid, and I think we can move on.
Yeah. It just was like, Bayley shoved Charlotte Flair. I don't know, like, they didn't really set up, like, why Nikki Cross would be facing Bayley and whatever. And Michael Cole goes, "Oh, Bayley silenced all the haters." And literally right before he said that, I go, "That match sucked." And he goes, "Bayley silencing all the haters." I'm like, I have not been silenced, sir. Absolutely not, you big dick.
Okay. Well then, I literally think this match is for the sake of, like, oh, we have, like, one women's match tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
but that women's match was enough to carry, like, all the women for a whole week. You don't need, this was just Bayley and Nikki Cross in the ring doing stuff for 3 minutes, and it was over.
I've said it before, though. Don't utilize women for the sake of utilizing women, and that goes for all genders. Don't have them in, like, don't just put people out there just for the sake of putting them out there. There's got to be some purpose.
Right.
And people are arguing, well, the King of the Ring is, like, just putting people. No, that's different. There's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
There's a crown. There's some sort of title. You know what I mean? That's like whatever. It's different. But
that has a purpose. This had no purpose.
This had no purpose.
This was just them doing stuff. Bayley looked horrible in this. Nikki Cross wasn't much better. And I have to say, I get it. She's a SmackDown wrestler, and this is post Raw, but just from being an observer of the show, watching her match at SummerSlam, I don't even know if she was booked on the previous show. Oh yeah, she was in a horrible handicap tag with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Bayley's entire run as champion so far has sucked, and it has done nothing for her. It's done nothing for the title. She couldn't have a good match with Ember Moon. The Alexa Bliss match stunk. The handicap tag sunk. It's just not good. And her whole her whole character. It's just like every time I watch, it's just like they really killed the Bayley character good and dead. Just in the way they booked her previously, and now they're trying to book her like she means something. And guess what? She doesn't. And it's like painfully obvious that she is like not what everybody thought she would be.
Sad.
So even the bad booking, they're trying to reverse it, and it's just not happening.
Sad. Oh well, moving on.
Sad.
Moving on.
Moving on here. Tag Team Turmoil. Oh boy. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there because on everyone's mind, what the heck? Why? How? Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. What in the heck was, like, what?
That was the most random tag team pairing I've seen in a while.
And then to win.
Right. Dolph Ziggler, who's been like the delusional heel getting crushed by everybody, is now
not a thing.
Is now going to be on the pay-per-view challenging for the Raw Tag Team titles with Robert Roode. And I would say it's like a 90% chance that they're going to wind up winning if Strowman turns. But actually, I looked at the pairing tonight, and they did win. Obviously, they went through 7 other teams. Well, not really 7. They actually beat 4 teams to win the Tag Team Turmoil. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, I actually predict them not to win at Clash of Champions. I actually predict that will not happen. I think that Braun and Rollins will successfully defend the tag team titles, have a killer main event. The next night on Raw they'll defend the titles again, and then Strowman turns on him after, because Strowman lost the match the night before or whatever it is. You know, it's like this tag team's so random. And Dolph Ziggler has now, I was digging the delusional heel thing, and now it's just like, oh, time to take Dolph seriously again. It's like, that's not how it works here, okay? And Bayley, that we just talked about, is proof of that. You can't treat them like they're nobodies, or, you know, like they're just job boys and job girls, and then make us feel like they have to be taken seriously again. It's just not happening.
Again, we thought we had the secret formula to Dolph Ziggler these past few weeks, and it was working really well. So what there's certain things that I can predict, like almost to a T, and there's certain things I'm within close proximity of guessing it correctly. Maybe a few things were off. I don't know what the longevity of this is at all. I have no idea.
And you know, it's like with Tag Team Turmoil, like whenever they do like these like Andrew's saying in the chat room, it's just a gauntlet match with a different name.
That's a really good way to explain it.
But you know, Cole did say, "Oh, it's been 2 years since we've had a Tag Team Turmoil on Raw," and I was like, "Yeah, let me go and look at." You know, when I recap Tag Team Turmoil, because I don't remember that at all.
I don't either.
And then I found the recap that I did Tag Team Turmoil on, and it was the night. It was a taped Raw from England, and the show was so bad that halfway through the show, I decided that I was going to finish all my Wrestleview tweets as angry Donald Trump, and everything was just sad, bad main event. #fake, you know, like all this. It was hilarious. Like I was reading my comments, and it was hilarious because I remember that night we had so much hate on Twitter because of that. It's like I'm not tipping my hat either way for who I support or whatever. I was just doing it just because it's like
you got bored.
Like Trump is like insane on Twitter. So I went off and did Donald Trump. So if you want, go back and look in the rest of the archives at that. It was pretty funny. I do remember, though, when I said that it was Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox. And I go, these two women with #fake extensions, you know, can't even have a good match. Sad, boring. And I remember all these Sasha Banks fans just went insane on Twitter. And it was just meltdown central. And I was laughing so hard. It's so easy to push people's buttons. Anyway, Tag Team Turmoil, the Viking Raiders, who I, like, as soon as they said the Viking Raiders were in it, I was like, oh, Viking Raiders. Like, they've been in squash matches this entire time. Like, I could definitely see them winning Tag Team Turmoil, and then Strowman turning on Rollins at Clash of Champions and the Viking Raiders winning, which would have made a ton of sense, but that didn't happen. Viking Raiders first started off against the B team, and they sold a ton for Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. I was like, holy crap, like what the hell? And then they quickly came back and the B team was eliminated. Now it's the Viking Raiders versus Gallows and Anderson, who cut a promo earlier and said, like, it's not fair that Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman just randomly became a tag team and then got a title shot immediately, and we have to go through Tag Team Turmoil to get a title shot. Like, how is that fair?
Irony.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I have to agree with the heels here. I absolutely have to agree with them. Viking Raiders and Gallows and Anderson, I was like, oh, crap. Like, I can't believe they're actually going to beat the Viking Raiders here. But then it just went to a double DQ. So both teams are eliminated. That sends out Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I was like, oh, God, that's the worst finish ever. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus Lucha House Party. Lucha House Party is eliminated. Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode versus The Revival. The Revival gets eliminated. Dolph Ziggler versus Robert Roode. They immediately killed Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, which is like, how are these idiots ever tag team champions in this calendar year ever? And now Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus Heavy Machinery from SmackDown because we just needed to have one more tag team. So wild card rule, Heavy Machinery, and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode beat them.
And the Usos aren't on the show.
And the Usos are just not being used right now, I guess, until this whole entire DUI thing is cleared up, if it does get cleared up with Jimmy Uso. So, and it's also, it's good for the company not to use the Usos right now because the last time Jimmy got arrested, they immediately won the tag team titles. And that left that's a bad look, and it does leave a bad taste in people's mouths here. So they're not using them this time, which I completely and totally support.
Yeah, listen.
Don't bang the table.
No, it wasn't. No, what happened was my connection. I don't even know how to begin because with the Viking Raiders, I was with you 100%. I'm like, easy. This is a great way for them to finally have this opportunity, all these squash matches, all this whatever, and then all of a sudden here we are. They didn't save them tonight either by having the DQ with the OC.
No.
That wasn't a save to me. That wasn't a way of protecting them. I think their thought was, we're going to protect these two teams by having them get a DQ. But because of the whole way this match panned out, this was not a save by any means.
No.
Because if anything, the Viking Raiders should have won against Heavy Machinery at the end. Do you know what I mean?
Well, of course, the Viking Raiders should have won the whole thing. Of course.
But realistically, those two teams really match up together. Big guys versus each other would have made sense, But and that could have happened at the very end to engage your interest. They get all the other teams out. 1, 2, 3, you're out, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But then those two they have the longer portion of this tag team turmoil. They didn't protect them. In fact, now you almost have to go back to square one with the Viking Raiders of where's their opportunity now. And then you talk about the OC saying oh, well, Rollins and Strowman get to just tag team together and all of a sudden they're champions. Same thing with Dolph.
Right.
Same thing with Dolph and Roode.
I can see where this is going. It's so obvious now that I guess they don't believe in the Viking Raiders. They're not going to use them like everybody thought they were. The squashes mean absolutely nothing. Guaranteed on the Clash of Champions pre-show, it's going to be the OC versus the Viking Raiders, and in a match that no one's going to care about. The Viking Raiders will probably wind up losing the match, and it's just here's another tag team that got called up from NXT that has potential. They really are rough and tough guys, the kind of wrestling that you'd want to see in the tag division, big intimidating monsters, but it's they'll be like AOP, where it's AOP should have been something great and totally dicked. And I feel like I feel like when they came up as the Viking Experience, they were totally dicked anyway. They quickly changed it to the Viking Raiders, but I don't know. It's months and months of squash matches, and they finally get an opportunity, and they do a double DQ, and it's just going to be an endless loop of trading wins with the OC. It's I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'll totally pass on that. Anyway. So that was really, really disappointing. Although I do have to say I don't hate the tag team of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I will just say that Robert Roode, obviously Bobby Roode. It's so weird. It's Robert Roode. I wish he kept the mustache, by the way. But Bobby Roode is a really good tag team competitor. To see Bobby Roode in a tag team again, it could be good. I don't know. Dolph Ziggler just feels very random, but. Hey, whatever.
I don't hate it, but it's just out of nowhere, and especially what they were
totally
doing
out of nowhere
with Dolph Ziggler recently. It just doesn't if this was just something that was random and they weren't utilizing Dolph Ziggler the way they were utilizing him, I would be oh, okay, whatever. But again, is it just this stop and go push for Dolph? I don't know.
Right.
I'm having a hard time to see the long picture. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, it's just I would like to we've been saying for weeks now, with every single Viking Raiders squash match, it's I just want to see a little light at the end of the tunnel for where they're going. I'd like to see a little hint for what's in store for them, and if this is what was in store, it's extremely disappointing.
Was that really the plan?
Right. Well, here's something that wasn't extremely disappointing at all. In fact, this is probably next to Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Sasha Banks, Natalia. One of my favorite matches on the show. Cedric Alexander and Cesaro absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it.
Amazing.
Cesaro is just like so impressive with everything he does. Every now and then he gets a little too ambitious, like he did last week in his King of the Ring match with Samoa Joe, where they went for a suplex and just like Fate had other options, had other ideas, and they fell. That happens to Cesaro a lot. I feel like in bigger matches, but man, when he's in there with a guy that he can do stuff with, like Cedric Alexander, like he has great matches, and he is a big dude. I've seen Cesaro in person many times. He's a very big man. He's a very strong man, but he still springboards off the ropes, does suicide dives, and I'm telling you, he moves like he's a cruiserweight, because that's what he was doing in this match with Cedric Alexander tonight. Really, really great stuff. Cross body block sends them both over the top rope. There was a great spot with Cesaro catching him and just destroying him with a big superplex. Like all of his power moves are just like totally awesome. And then he basically then Alexander catches him with a Spanish Fly, and Cesaro's flipping around and doing all that stuff. He's just so impressive, and he really went out of his way tonight to really build Cedric Alexander up as a total threat. Worked on the leg a bunch of times, and Cedric Alexander, let's not get it twisted here. Cedric Alexander was really awesome selling the leg. I have to show this one gif of him doing the Michinoku driver on one leg, because it was totally awesome. He's hopping around. He couldn't get him up at first, and then he just crushed him with a quick Michinoku driver. Totally awesome. That was great. The Spanish Fly out of nowhere, another totally awesome thing. Wow. It's like, how does he do that? Cesaro's just enormous. And then he comes in the ring and crushes him with a lumbar check. Cesaro sells it like $1 million. Totally awesome. This was just a great match. Really great match. Tells a good story that, Cedric Alexander is someone who guts through an injury and still manages to come back and beat a guy like Cesaro. He has to face Baron Corbin next week. Maybe that's where his luck runs out. I actually think that he's going to go over on Corbin, because, man, Cedric Alexander Ricochet in the semifinals at Madison Square Garden is a lot better than Ricochet versus Baron Corbin, and also better than the other option, which could be Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin as well, or Samoa Joe versus Cedric Alexander. The only match that I'd really be interested in seeing is Ricochet versus Cedric Alexander. And, it tells a good story about who Cedric Alexander is, because it's like, they gave him the push. It's like, who is Cedric Alexander? And you get a good feel for who he is tonight with how he guts things out, and is a great underdog. He looked like a great underdog tonight.
Can I pose a question, though, to you?
Yeah.
I can't deny anything that you just said, and everything you said regarding their matchup. Both individuals looked fantastic. But the only question I have, and Billy and Hefner and I were talking about this before, where does this leave Cesaro, though, losing every week?
That's a great question. I mean, I asked the same question actually on Twitter tonight of where does Drew McIntyre go after losing King of the Ring? Cesaro, I just have a feeling, I mean, he's an enhancement guy. When they needed Aleister Black to face somebody, it was Cesaro. That was his first guy to face, because they know they'll get a great match out of him, but they're not going to do anything with Cesaro. But they know that they have a good match.
So he's just a reliable.
He's a reliable
wrestler.
hand. He's a part of the machine. But I don't think that I just don't think at this point they're going to be doing anything big with him. Maybe a run with the U.S. title eventually at some point, but nothing.
It's just sad. That's the only thing that makes me sad about watching him sometimes.
Well,
only because
I mean, he was killed dead when Vince McMahon said on the Steve Austin podcast he doesn't have the it factor.
And that attribute, I feel
and
like
that
that's
was an unbelievable admission from Vince McMahon.
I think that's
unbelievable.
I think
I'm
that kind
still
of
boggled by
I
that.
think it attributes to a lot what goes on with him. I think they use him when they can, and they know he's going to put on a good match. But I'm just saying, I just feel sorry for him. Like that. It doesn't take away from the matchup itself for me, obviously. Like, I'm still very much entertained. And it's not to say that any individual who he's faced in the past few weeks, especially, don't deserve their win, because they do. It's just this sad feeling you get for somebody, though, who is so good
Right.
That he's more there his sole purpose is more there to build up other people instead of himself.
Sometimes that's not a bad thing, because you get matches like this. It's like, like Cesaro on top cutting promos. I don't know if that's really the best thing for him either, So, hey, it is what it is. This was a great match though. And I suggest you go out of your way to check out this match because it was really good. Tells a great story. And I think that's a good way to finish up our Raw recap.
Can I do something really corny?
Yeah.
For our 50th?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to pose a question to everybody.
Okay.
Favorite Raw moment, like actual show Raw moment of this past few episodes, and favorite post-Raw show moment.
Oh my God. We have moments. Are there post-Raw moments?
I have two.
You have two?
I have
two. What are your favorite post-Raw moments?
So my first favorite is the Ronda Rousey. That was funny.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah. When I typed Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, and
no, it was Rondae Rousey.
Rondae Rousey. Yeah. That was funny. And and that became like a instant joke.
That was Ronda's thing for a while. Rondae.
Yeah. And then when we announced that we were having our little baby girl.
Oh yeah.
On the show.
Yeah.
Man,
I haven't even thought about post Raw moments at all. I'm trying to think what is my favorite Raw moment from us covering Raw. That's hard to say.
That's hard to say too. I had more for post Raw than I did actual Raw.
Quentin Walters like the Rondae Rousey thing.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Quentin that really pointed it out
and
kept bringing it up. Daniel Shell says Raw introducing the 24/7 title and Mike's angry rant.
That was
a legendary night. That was a legendary night.
That was really good.
God. I have to say one of my favorites was when you were going through morning sickness, and which was never in the morning, it was only at night, and Victoria gave me the wave. She goes like this sometimes when she needs to get off camera, so I switch it to me, and I'm trying to I was not prepared to talk more about all this stuff, and all of a sudden, you hear in the background just Victoria just puking. It was hilarious. Like you can't really hear it. You have to really kind of strain to hear it. But I remember hearing that, and I was trying not to laugh, and I was trying to talk about something on Raw. That was so great.
Well, I remember when you played the show for Adam, and you go look here, and Adam was able to hear it.
Oh yeah. When I told Adam, I was like, go to 1 hour and 3 minutes. You're gonna die. And he's like, wow. He goes, damn. Billy Hefner says Hocus Pocus.
Yes, the Hocus Pocus reference.
Hocus Pocus references. I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, you already took my favorite post Raw moment, I guess, with announcing the baby. My rant was a very fond memory for me. Yeah, I don't know. But Quentin Walters says, it's a good way to kind of rein this whole entire thing in. Watching the post Raw is my favorite. Then, now, and forever.
I love that.
Thank you, Quentin. And Quentin has been here then, now, and forever as well, as have a lot of people behind our show. And Billy Hefner is a big part of our show too, always promoting our show. So we always thank him for that.
Thank everybody.
Well, we thank everybody who listens to us and watches us. It's crazy that people would even want to sit and watch us for an hour and 15 minutes and listen to us for that long too on any podcast. So it's a great honor. And we really enjoy it. I love recapping. I love wrestling. I love talking about it. Victoria does too. It's been great. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I think we'll put a bow on it right now for the 50th episode, and we look forward to the next 50. Although they might be interrupted a little bit.
Especially me.
Especially Victoria.
If you do happen to like me, you should be really watching in these next few weeks because I do have to take a break at some point.
Victoria probably won't be back until after October. Once October hits, you probably won't see Victoria until mid-November again, if that.
If that.
We shall see. But I will be doing episodes of the Post Raw show.
Yeah, still check it out.
I will be doing some episodes. I'll try to bring in some guest stars if I can get it all to work on my computer and all that stuff. If not, I'll do some solo shows. We'll see what happens. The ratings will crater, and then Victoria will come back to big ratings, and then she'll be like, "Look, it's she's like Hulk Hogan, taking off, when the NBA championships happen, and Nitro gets, preempted, and then he comes back once they're over and it's like, well, brother, you needed me here. That's gonna be Victoria.
Oh, please.
But anyway, thank you everybody. Daniel Shell has a good one too. Daniel Shell says Victoria's woman rant.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yes.
Maybe none Raw. But my favorite thing is Victoria's high paw to Triple H. That's Andrew Elder loves that. Oh, Quentin Walsh has a good idea. We need a Victoria cardboard cutout. That's a good idea. Let's ask Victoria what she thinks. It'd be hilarious. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in with us tonight. It was a great blast to be here with you all, and we'll be back for Post Raw 51. It starts anew again. Our countdown, our march forward to 100 Post Raw episodes.
Gosh.
Oh my God, that's gonna be crazy. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm Mike Tedesco, editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com and intrepid Raw recapper. And also, by the way, everybody, I'm recapping NXT, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows that. I kind of just started doing it just because I want to, but I also recap NXT. So check out the NXT recap. And
I'm Victoria Tedesco with none of the acclamations that Mike has, so thanks.
But she lives with me. Thank you, everybody. We love you all. You guys are all so awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.